Let's get started with our first news. Khabib shared the story behind his now legendary phone conversation with Tony Ferguson, taken from their UFC 209 conference call. It remains one of the most chaotic, unpredictable, and downright unforgettable verbal battles in MMA history. In the clip, Khabib stays calm and composed from the start, using short, sharp replies that push Tony further into full-blown frustration. His steady tone creates a contrast that makes Tony's rising intensity feel even more explosive. Khabib tells Tony, "You have fake belt, Tony, fake belt." Tony fires right back, saying the belt looks real to him and that he doesn't care about the critics, the hype, or the people trying to float his boat. He shouts that all the sponsorships and attention mean nothing to him. What matters is what he earned on his own. But Khabib keeps the pressure steady. Khabib calmly says he can even ask Reebok to give Tony a contract if he wants one, joking that they make very good gear now and that he can order something for him. He asks Tony what size he wears, slipping in the jab with a straight face as Tony starts to lose focus. Tony snaps back, threatening that he'll get a hold of him, pushing the conversation into a more chaotic direction. Khabib doesn't stop. He keeps the jabs rolling, saying Reebok could make custom shoes labeled interim champ Tony Ferguson if Tony wants them. Tony yells that he can't even hear Khabib because he's working out, but Khabib shuts that down instantly, pointing out that Tony is clearly on the phone and clearly bothered. Throughout the call, Khabib repeats that he doesn't understand why Tony keeps bringing up Reebok, and each calm response makes Tony's anger grow louder, faster, and even more out of control. Move on to another news. Renato Moicano has weighed in with his prediction for the upcoming fight between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett, and his take has caught a lot of fans off guard. Moicano didn't hold back when discussing the matchup, pointing out that Paddy's last three opponents entered the cage with a combined record of 0-13. He emphasized that none of them were coming off a win, making the level of competition noticeably low. According to him, Bobby Green, Michael Chandler, and Antonio had all been struggling when they faced Paddy, which makes this sudden leap into a huge matchup feel unusual. As Moicano puts it, Paddy is clearly getting what many would consider an undeserved opportunity, possibly even an undeserved title push. Still, he acknowledges that it is what it is. The UFC often makes decisions based on momentum, star power, and timing, and in this case, Paddy finds himself in an incredibly high-profile spot against one of the most violent, dangerous lightweights alive. Moicano admits he was surprised when the fight was announced, just like everyone else. But once he looked deeper into it, he found himself leaning toward Paddy in a way he didn't expect. He explains that the fight is scheduled for 5 rounds, and that dynamic changes everything. He breaks down the common narrative that nearly everybody believes: if Justin Gaethje doesn't finish Paddy early, he will start to fade. The longer the fight goes, the tougher it becomes for Gaethje to keep the same intensity. Moicano says this is not just his opinion, but something he feels is widely accepted. According to him, if Gaethje doesn't stop Paddy in the opening moments, the momentum could shift dramatically. Paddy thrives in chaotic situations, and if Gaethje's explosiveness drops off, Moicano believes Paddy has the tools to take over. With full confidence, Moicano ends by saying he truly thinks Paddy Pimblett will beat Justin Gaethje. He acknowledges it's a tough matchup, acknowledges the risks, but still predicts that Paddy pulls it off, especially in a drawn-out, exhausting 5-round war. Move on to another news. Tom Aspinall recently opened up on YouTube about his frustration with Dana White's post-fight comments following UFC 321. The UFC president suggested that the champion didn't want to continue after the eye injury, and although Dana didn't mention him directly, many fans felt the remarks were aimed at Aspinall. Tom didn't go into extreme detail, but it was clear he wasn't happy with the implication that he quit or lacked the desire to push forward. His tone reflected disappointment more than anger, showing he felt misunderstood in a moment where his safety was legitimately compromised. Soon after his video gained traction, former UFC champion Henry Cejudo addressed the situation during an interview with Shock MMA. Having dealt with similar public criticism in the past, Cejudo offered advice he believed Aspinall genuinely needed to hear. He explained that Dana White's role as a promoter is to stir emotion, push narratives, and generate attention. According to Cejudo, Dana has never been in the cage, never taken the kind of damage fighters deal with, and never experienced the physical consequences of competing at that level. Because of that, he speaks from a promoter's mindset, not a fighter's. Cejudo recalled moments from his own career, including fighting Marlon Moraes with a torn labrum and pushing through a sprained ankle, proving that fighters often deal with things fans never see. Still, he emphasized that an eye injury is different. It's not something a fighter can simply push through without risking permanent damage. That's why he urged Aspinall to avoid taking Dana's words personally. He explained that, at the end of the day, Tom is an employee working under a boss who is known for speaking his mind. Dana is blunt, unapologetic, and willing to say whatever he feels in the moment. Cejudo even admitted he appreciates that honesty, even when it stings, because it's a big part of what makes Dana such an effective promoter. Cejudo's message was simple: don't fight with Dana. Don't get dragged into a public argument, and don't let outside noise distract you. Accept that Dana will always speak freely. Stay focused on what matters, and remember that in this sport, emotions run high, pressure is constant, and the business side can be just as tough as the battles inside the cage. Move on to another news. At Thursday's UFC 323 press conference, Merab and Yan delivered one of the most entertaining exchanges of the entire event. Their rivalry is real, but their back and forth on stage had the crowd laughing as much as it had them hyped for the fight. In the middle of the tense face-offs and sharp verbal jabs, Merab suddenly shifted the mood by inviting Yan to join him in a jacuzzi after they settle things inside the octagon. The offer came out of nowhere, delivered with Merab's usual mix of humor and confidence. Merab leaned into the mic and said, "Hey, you are welcome in my jacuzzi. You want to come jacuzzi after?" Yan didn't hesitate for even a second. He shot the idea down instantly, replying that Merab already had plenty of people in his jacuzzi and he didn't need to be there. The crowd laughed, but Merab kept pushing, telling him to come on, and joking that after the fight, relaxing together wouldn't be a bad idea. Yan fired back again, this time suggesting Merab should have girls in the jacuzzi instead of whoever he currently has. He added that if Merab prefers sitting in a hot tub with only boys, that's his choice, but it's not something he's interested in. Merab didn't back off, insisting it doesn't matter if it's girls or boys, because everyone can mix and have fun. He tried one more time to playfully convince Yan, but Yan doubled down, saying all has ever seen in Merab's jacuzzi are men, and he hasn't seen Merab with a girl at all. That's when the energy flipped again. Yan took advantage of the moment to mock Merab for the viral clip where he dove headfirst into a frozen lake. He said he likes most of the things Merab does, even if Merab isn't trying to be funny, but the ice dive video is his personal favorite. The crowd burst out laughing as Merab shrugged and smiled, embracing the fact that the footage has become part of his persona. The press conference ended with both men tossing final jabs, the audience roaring, and the rivalry feeling more personal, more entertaining, and more intense than ever. Move on to another news. Henry Cejudo has openly stated that he is completely serious about his upcoming fight against Peyton Talba being his final walk to the octagon. Despite retiring multiple times in the past, this time he insists the decision is final, and he even suggested that Dana White might cut him from the UFC afterward. Cejudo explained that his motivations for returning were rooted in family, not legacy. He said his priority has shifted toward giving his kids a better life than he ever had, and fighting was simply the fastest way to secure that future. He admitted he didn't necessarily need to come back financially because he had been making great money, but once he set a goal for his family, fighting became the quickest path to reach it. Still, in reflecting on everything, Cejudo revealed that he might actually regret returning. He compared it to wrestling, where he once pushed himself until he genuinely started to hate the sport. He described competing in the Olympics, imagining the pressure of knowing it could all end in a single moment, and how winning made him feel ready to walk away forever. That moment of closure meant something, and coming back later took away some of that specialness. Cejudo said that although many people believe he still has it, and even though his coach Captain Eric wants him to fight 10 more times, the fire inside him is different now. He understands that every athlete has a time and place, and he feels he has reached his. More importantly, he has 2 children, and he doesn't want them growing up with the fear of watching their father fight. He recalled his own childhood in a dangerous neighborhood, watching violent confrontations at a young age, and feeling his heart pound with fear. He refuses to put his children through anything similar. While the interviewer acknowledged that fans often don't take Cejudo's retirement seriously, pointing out that people think he'll come back again, Cejudo shut that down. This time, he said the decision is real, leveled, and final. He went as far as saying he believes Dana White might cut him after this fight, which would eliminate any possibility of another comeback. According to Cejudo, this chapter is closing for good. Move on to another news. A lawsuit filed in 2023 against Conor over serious allegations has officially been dropped. The latest court filing, made public on Tuesday, reveals that the unnamed accuser, referred to only as Jane Doe, submitted a notice voluntarily dismissing the case with prejudice. That means the claim cannot be refiled in the future. The court accepted the dismissal, and by Wednesday the case was officially closed. The original lawsuit accused Conor, the former two-division UFC champion, of sexual assault, alleging the incident took place in a bathroom at a Miami Heat game during the NBA Finals. The allegations triggered a police investigation, yet no criminal charges were ever pursued. Throughout the entire process, Conor maintained his innocence and vehemently denied the accusations. Now, nearly 11 months after the initial filing, the civil suit has come to a complete and final end. According to Conor's attorney, Barbara Lane, the accuser moved through at least 3 different law firms over the 2-year period. Lane dismissed the case as a fabrication built on inconsistent stories. She stated plainly that after repeated review, there was no credible evidence to support the claims. The shifting legal representation and dwindling substance of the accusations led to the voluntary dismissal, a resolution that ultimately spared Conor further legal entanglements and public scrutiny. For Conor, this development brings relief and vindication. The dismissal removes a cloud of uncertainty that had hovered over his reputation since the allegations first surfaced. Without charges, without trial, and now without a civil case hanging over him, he can refocus on his career and legacy without the weight of unresolved legal drama. For the accuser, the dismissal with prejudice signals that the judicial system has closed the door on revisiting this specific claim. In civil litigation, that outcome is as final as it gets, meaning any future attempt to bring the same allegations forward would likely be thrown out immediately. In effect, the court has declared this particular chapter over for good. Observers, fans, and media outlets that followed the situation closely will now see this as the end of a lengthy saga, one that lasted nearly a year and attracted intense attention. With the case laid to rest, Conor can move forward without the shadow of this lawsuit, while the public narrative around the incident must now shift to the facts. No charges filed, no trial, and no future civil claim on the books. Khabib Nurmagomedov has released audio. Move on to another news. Joaquin Buckley says Carlos Prates is easy money, making it clear he views the matchup as one of the simplest challenges he could ask for. Buckley explained that he's not the type of fighter who slows down as the rounds go on. He said he only pushes harder, building momentum as the fight progresses, which is why he believes Prates is an easy and very manageable opponent for him. He went on to talk about his recent change in attitude, admitting Hess trying to grow and stop calling fighters out in the way he used to. Buckley said Hess a changed man, and part of that change comes from gaining genuine respect for Ian Garry. He explained that in the entire welterweight division there are plenty of fighters who avoid tough matchups, but in his eyes, Garry is the only one who has never ducked a challenge. Buckley emphasized that out of all these dudes at 170, Garry is the only guy who never hid from any smoke. He even said Garry didn't duck him either. Instead, Garry simply took a better opportunity that came his way, and Buckley admits he would have made the same decision if the roles were reversed. He said openly that he would have taken the bigger opportunity on my mama, showing there's no bitterness there. Buckley also praised Garry for handling his career the right way, saying Garry is doing exactly what Hess supposed to be doing as he continues climbing toward the top. Even though Buckley still brings intensity when he speaks about potential opponents, he made it clear that Garry earned his respect by stepping up when others didn't. For Buckley, the message was simple: he's improving, evolving, and staying true to who he is. But when it comes to Carlos Prates, he still believes the fight is easy money and one has more than ready for.